On the 17th of February 1954, Dr. Jacob Daley was a guest at the Art Directors Club luncheon in New York City. He, with other well-known magicians, entertained the party with magic. Dr. Daley gave a sparkling performance and returned to his seat to a well-deserved applause. Shortly afterwards, he fell from his chair, and although medical aid was immediately available, it was found that he had passed away. Dr. Daley perfected this effect over the final weeks of his life. Yo, it's your boy Six, and welcome back to another card magic tutorial. You just finished watching two variations of the last trick of Dr. Jacob Daley. And I promise you, this is probably going to be one of the best effects I ever teach on this channel. Now, you're welcome to argue this with me, but really when it comes to card magic, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better, more impactful effect for your spectators than this effect here. I really made a living doing this effect all the time when I was doing magic professionally before I got into teaching. It's really up there probably in my top 3 effects, if not my number 1. I'd probably even potentially place it over the Ambitious card. Yeah, I went there. I said it. I'm gonna own that. And you're gonna be learning 2 versions of this effect today. I'm showing you the beginner's version and the what I call the professional version. And here's why I call it that. Well, the professional version is a lot more advanced. It's gonna take a little bit more time to practice. However, I didn't want to skip over the beginner version, the one that I started my career with. It's literally the first version of this effect that I learned. And why is that important? There are lessons in there for you. How to construct routines. As you go into the explanation, you'll understand sequencing, right? How to lead one method into the next method in order to make your life easier. It is very, very important to learn those lessons, so I didn't want to skip that over. Ideally, I want to get you performing the professional version in the future, but you do have to watch that beginner's version just for the valuable lessons that you will learn as a magician. This effect was originally published in Dai Vernon's The Book of Magic, and you're not actually going to be learning the original method here today, mainly because I didn't learn it till later on in life, and I just think these 2 versions that I'm showing you today are just a little bit better because it's been updated over time. And I've learned the beginner version back in the day at a magic shop. I think it was from Xavier Spade, and I actually think he gave it to me in this sequence where he showed me the easy version first, made me practice that, and then later showed me the more advanced variation. So shout out to Xavier Spade. Aside from that, I think what's important here is that to just mention that I'm not sure where those 2 variations come from. I'm not sure the sources of that, but I wanted to make sure that Dr. Daley got his credit. If you know who to credit them to, comment down below, let me know. But I wanted to make sure I credited Dr. Daley, obviously as published in Vernon's Book of Magic. And as you saw from that little montage that I put together there, it really was his last effect. But enough about this, let's go into the tutorial, and we're going to be starting with the beginner variation right now. So what you need are the 4 aces, so go ahead and take out the 4 aces from the pack. And we're going to go through the beginner's version, the first version that I've ever learned of this effect. And it's really simple because it sets it up for you. So you're going to do these moves and it kind of sets you up to be able to do the more difficult moves in a much easier way. So to do this, what we're going to start with is having the cards in red, black order, red, black, with the ace of spades being at the bottom. That's the setup you want to go for, just like I have here. The red cards could be swapped, it doesn't make a difference, but you want the ace of spades at the bottom and the ace of clubs, in this case 3rd from the top. I like to use the box also. When you're using a hard surface, it's always great to place cards on the box because it makes them much easier for you to pick up later on during a performance. So it's very, very useful. And I'll show you another thing that you can do later on with the box if you want to do a more stand-up version of this effect as opposed to with a bunch of people. So let's go through this. I have my 4 aces, and we're going to begin by utilizing the glide. It's a very basic move in magic. It's kind of one of the foundational moves, but as you develop, you kind of stop using it, and I think that's important, and that's why I think there's 2 versions to this. So I'm going to begin by holding the cards like this, as you can see. So I have my 3 fingers along the right side of the packet, my thumb on the inner side of the packet, and my index finger simply curled on the top, just like you see here. If you want to just get a better idea of how to do this, literally I'm just reaching and picking up the cards like this, and that's it. Now we're going to go into the first motion of the glide. So we're going to show the bottommost card and point out that it's the ace of spades. Now you're going to turn your hand face down, and this is where you're going to execute the glide. What's happening is my hand's going to reach underneath, and it's actually going to push the bottom card back, I'm actually going to pull out the card second from the bottom. So from this angle, an exposed angle, and I'm going to give you an under view in a second to help make more sense of this. I'm going to reach under. These fingers are going to push this card back just a little bit, and I'm going to pull out the second card from the bottom, just like I've done here. And now this is going to do a couple of things. A, it switches the bottommost card for you, which is nice. Makes life a little bit easier. But notice that these two cards have stayed aligned, and that's going to set you up for a double lift. So let's take a quick look at the underground view, or the bottom view of the glide. So just for explanation purposes, here is the glide from underneath. Your left hand comes under, it's going to put pressure, so it's going to come inward as if it's going to grab the card. It's actually going to touch the card a little early and push that card back a little bit. Now your fingers, because of the friction, are going to let go of that card as it's to slide back and now press up on the other card, the second most card, as you pull that card all the way out, and you're going to place that down onto the table, thus switching the card, and that is the glide. Another way in which you can do this without touching the card underneath to push it, what I like to do is, as I show the cards, if you notice, I have my two fingers here, my pinky and my ring finger. I'm actually going to use those to squeeze and slide that card back. So my thumb is at the side, my second finger is at the opposite side, holding the card from above like this. My third finger and pinky are going to touch the bottommost card, kind of squeeze a little bit, and just kind of pull it back with my fingers. And that's a get ready that you can do, so you can just reach underneath and grab the opposite card. One more time at full speed, just so you know what it looks like. So I show the ace of spades. As I flip the card down, it's out of view. I start to pull, come under, grab the next card, place that down the table. So you just saw the underview of how to execute the glide. There was another version there that I showed you in which you simply have the packet held like this, but you can use your second and third finger. If you press it against your hand, just like I have here, notice the packet's not too far back, like this. I have it sticking out, my fingers just about an inch or so, maybe a little bit more than an inch, just like we have here. And I can just press my fingers against it, and then I can actually squeeze, and when I squeeze, I'm almost like pulling the bottommost card back, and I have to loosen the grip on these two fingers here, so loosen that grip, and it gets the card to come out. So you do all this while showing the card, show the card, turn it face down, and now it's already done. And now I can go in and I pull the bottom card from the first packet, place that down on the table, and it leaves us in the same position. Once we're in this position, now I want to change my approach. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put my left hand out. I'm going to turn this packet in towards myself, because this right here is two cards. It's acting as a double already. So if you don't know how to do a double lift, this is the already set up for you. I turn it in towards myself like this. Once I'm here, I simply press my thumb and my fingers on the back. Simply going to lift up both of those cards as I flip them over, keeping them aligned, holding them tight for a double lift. So this is another great way to do this, right? So I just simply flip it over, and when I flip it over to the front, notice that I leave it out jogged a little bit as well. So when I have to turn it back face down, it's easy for me to lift up and flipped over. Really, really simple, basic double lifts here, and that's why this is the beginner's version. So once again, here's what's gonna happen. I have it set up, show the ace of spades, turn my hand face down, place down the table. Now this is already set to go, so I'm going to turn it in towards myself. Once I turn it in towards myself, I can just simply grab the double, turn it over, out jog. Notice that my fingers can press it, can align it, I can do all that stuff. So if it's a little sloppy, I can make sure I cover it. So if you're new to Magic and you're new to double lift, this is a great way to secure your double lift. You can straighten the card's edge, make sure it stays flush so it doesn't expose anything. Turn this card face down and place it on the spectator's hands. Now you can simply separate these two cards, turn them over, show that they have switched, and then turn these cards over. I don't do this to the table, I do it in the spectator's hand, and I suggest you do it too. Have them hold out their hands. It's great for walk around Magic, and I'm telling you, the reactions are going to be incredible. So one last time, just to make sure it's more than clear, I set up the cards like this. I'm going to show the bottom card, pull back on the bottom card, place the next card onto the table, turn this packet towards myself just like this. As I do that, I want to grab here, hold both cards, lift up, Bring them forward, align the edges if I have to. Show this card. Notice it's still out jogged, so it's very easy for me to pick up again and place face down. Place this card right on top of this one, again in the spectator's hands. Snap my fingers and show that I now have the ace of spades and clubs in my hands, and they are now holding the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds. A couple of things. One thing that I like to do is I tell them I'm going to make the card switch in their hands. So this is how I preface it. I'm going to make the card switch in your hand. So notice if I have the ace of spades here, I'm going to place the ace of spades. I'm going to place the ace of spades facing this way, right? You notice it's horizontal. Watch, I'm also going to go ahead and take the ace of clubs. Place the ace of clubs, but in a vertical position. So the ace of clubs is vertical, and now the ace of spades is horizontal. How cool would it be if I made those cards switch? Now what I'm doing is I'm setting up the context away from these cards, and they're looking here and they're gonna go, oh, that would be cool if they switched. I'm not gonna be too amazed. But what I do is I say, you know, it would be cool if I made them switch in your hand, but it'd be even cool if I made them switch in my hand. Turn the cards over, show the ace of spades, ace of clubs, let them see these cards, and then they absolutely freak out. Wonderful effect. And that's the beginner's version of Dr. Daley's Aces. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the professional version and what makes this different. Well, it's pretty simple. It's assuming that you know how to execute double lifts. There's more congruency. Notice in the first one, I showed the card this way, and then I showed a card this way. That switch, you know, that way, you know, in the beginning, it's no big deal. If you're just learning magic, getting started, it's part of the process. But as you become a professional, you want congruency. You want things to look the same when you do it. So when I turn a card over this way, again, the next card I turn over should be this way. It'd be very weird for me to turn a card over like this, and then turn a card over like this, and then turn a card over like this, unless I was trying to be fancy, right? So you want to have congruency. And here's how we're going to do that. So for this variation, and again, it's a more advanced variation, so there's some subtleties I want to share with you here. What I'm going to do is have these 4 cards, as you can see, and I'm going to set them up, same thing, red, black, but I got to get the real setup is this, the 2 black aces in the bottom, 2 red aces on top with the ace of spades in the middle. But I don't want to show this, turn the cards face down, and then start turning cards over and they see black cards. Because maybe they'll remember that they were at the bottom and that something seems off. So the way I throw that off is I place the ace of spades second from the top, ace of clubs at the bottom. And this allows me to show the aces in this manner. So now I can show the aces. Say here I have the 4 aces. I can turn them over and I say, just to be clear, I only have 4 aces. Now I'm going to do a switch. I'm going to actually switch the second card for the third card, and all I'm going to do is my fingers underneath are going to grab the third card, so my fingers are now touching it just like this. My thumb is just on top of this card, and then when my fingers are holding this card with the friction, they're kind of pressed against that third card, and my thumb from this hand is going to touch this card. And all I'm going to do is grab those cards and separate, switching those cards, as you can see. Once again, so I go like this, and I switch the cards. And you can do this little display here. That's a nice way to show the cards as single. So once again, I have my original setup this way. You can completely skip this part. I like to do it because I like to show congruency, show them just 4 cards, and now nobody knows the order of the cards. So that helps me for the way I like to perform it. Now that no one knows the order, I feel a little more comfortable. So that switch takes place simply like this. Very basic. So your real setup, like I said, is 2 aces at the bottom, 2 aces at the top, blacks, reds, and the ace of spades is the third card or second from the top, however you look at it. So it's third card from here. So you can skip that whole display sequence and just simply start here. It's your life. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I need to get this card here. I'm going to do a double lift from the center. So there's a couple of ways in which you can do a double lift from the center. When you spread the cards like this, when you square them up, you can get a pinky break underneath this card. So now that I have that pinky break, I can align these 2 cards on top, and now there's 3 cards here. And all I have to do is just take the top card, right? Notice how I have it pressed down. I press right where this angel is to the side. I'm just gonna push that card off to the side. And now because I have a break, it makes it very easy for me to go inside, grab the 2 middle cards, and pull them out together. And I can simply turn that face up, And now I hold a break here on the side, a visor concept. If you wanted to just bring it down a little lower, you can do that as well. Or you can turn the card over completely and get a break, however, which way you like to do it. But you do want to maintain a break because you're going to take those two cards again, turn them face down, and place it on the table. Now, the same thing that's going to happen here. I'm going to go underneath the bottom, but this time, again, as I grab all 3 cards, fingers underneath, thumb on top. Now, all I have to simply do is just with the same spot, pressing on that angel in the right-hand corner here, push that 1 card off to the side. So now that that 1 card gets pushed off to the side, I can grab the 2 bottom cards. Same idea, flip it over. Sorry, I think this is the Altman trap, actually. So you can use the Altman trap subtlety to hold the card's break with the fleshy part of your hand. Notice how that sits in there, and then I can just simply push and pick up the 2 cards. If you wanted to, again, of course, you could just turn both cards over, square them up, get a break on this side, or if you wanted to, just simply turn the cards over, down jog them a little bit, push in to square up, and then get the break underneath as well. So there's a couple different ways in which you could do it. But now I have the Ace of Clubs here. I can take this Ace of Clubs, turn that face down, turn it sideways, place it on top of the box, do my presentation, turn the cards over, show I have the aces, and then reveal that I have the red aces on the table. So another really cool way in which you can do it. Let me give you some other tips on the pulling out the double lift, because there's some other ideas. So the one idea was showing the 4, squaring them up, get a break, just simply come over. When I come over to grab, I just push this top card over, and now I can grab 2 cards. You don't have to do that either. Another great way in which you can do this is by using the buckle. And now the buckle is when you get a bend under the bottom card. You notice how I use my index finger. I'm going to press it on the bottom of the card, just like this. Now that my index finger is pressing on the bottom, I just simply pull that index finger towards me. And because the card is pressing against my hand, it's going to create a buckle. So by just doing this, I bring it in, and now I have a buckle so my finger can go inside of there. And I like to time it together. So what I do first is I'll push the top card over at an angle, then I'll do the buckle. And now from this position, notice that it's very easy for me just to grab the 2 cards that are in the middle and do a double lift. So at full speed, I pull the card forward, get a buckle underneath, and pull out the 2 cards. So it should look just like this. So as my hand comes over, my hand is providing all the cover. Notice you don't see the buckle, right? Because my hand does all the cover. So once my hand gets here, I'm pushing this top card over, reaching in, my hand is covering that buckle. Now I can just simply grab these 2 cards flat, let it relax, unbuckle the cards, I guess you could say, turn the card over. Same idea, Altman trap. Do the double turnover, turn it face down. Same thing, double from the bottom. Turn that over, place that down. And now I can show that I got 2 aces here, and now they hold the 2 red aces. That's my favorite version. That's the one that you'll see me perform 95% of the time. So there you have it. This is a professional working routine. Use it well, my friends. I tell you, it is incredible. I have been paid lots of money, and this is one of the highlights almost every single time. It is that good. So don't overlook this effect. I promise you, if you want to become a professional magician, or if you just want to really, really amaze people, it's hard to beat this effect.